Hey everyone, Tyler here at The Movie Beat, back with another new Korean movie review. First of all, I just want to say thanks so much for the feedback, and I'm really happy to hear that you guys have enjoyed some of the latest video uploads, so I hope to keep those coming. Today, I went and checked out the brand new sci-fi film, SEOBOK. If you have been following this channel, you'll know that I do really like science fiction films, so in January I tried to kind of put a little review compilation together of a lot of different Korean sci-fi offerings, some of the successes, some of the failures that we've seen over the years, in anticipation for Space Sweepers. And so it's kind of rare to have another big sci-fi Korean film come out within the same year since those early days and some of the failures that we've had. So I, of course, was very much looking forward to this one. And as you also might know, I do not really look into movies too much before seeing them to go on with the bare minimum expectations as possible, other than, you know, main actors, director, posters, and things like that. So I really knew nothing about this one going in. And other than, you know, it was about cloning and it was going to have some kind of a sci-fi concept, so super excited. I will start with some of the good news, and that has to do with some of the goodies that I got for seeing this film, actually just the goodie. So I went to Lotte Cinema and they are doing the art cards for this film as well. So here is the SEOBOK Lotte Cinema signature art card. Pretty awesome. You can see the main actors here on the front, Gong Yoo and Park Bo-gum. So pretty nice, kind of shiny there effect. And the back, the Korean films that get the art cards have signatures on the back. So not only is it the signature, like exclusive Lotte art card, you get signatures. So we can see here on the back, Gong Yoo's signature. I can't make out if it says anything besides Gong Yoo. I think it just says his name. This, I believe, must be Park Bo-gum's signature. It's not super clear, but it says God bless you underneath in English, so that's legible, and a little heart. So the bottom one, I can actually read it. It does say 감사합니다, which is thank you very much in Korean, or thank you politely. And it says SEOBOK 감독, I believe, the director, Lee Yong-ju. So Lee Yong-ju brought us the films Architecture 101 and the horror film Possessed. So that's pretty much all I knew about him going into this one. So awesome art card here. This was number 22. Is there anything else to report on this? Not much. So awesome. Really wanted to share that with you guys. These are sweet. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a brief rundown of the story here. Very interesting on paper, I must say, at least, this story for this film. This one is not going to have any major spoilers, so do not worry. I just really want to give you my reaction and give you a general outline of kind of how this movie goes down. As the product of genetic manipulation and stem cell cloning, SEOBOK, played by Park Bo-gum, has developed phenomenal telekinetic powers and, perhaps most importantly, has no mechanism for aging within him, thus allowing him to live forever should he encounter no major bodily harm. With humanity facing a paradigm shift of unimaginable proportions, SEOBOK becomes caught in the middle of a proxy war between those who believe him to be the savior of mankind and those who see him as a destroyer. Retired secret agent Gi-hoon, played by Gong Yoo, is pressured into one last mission where he is to escort and protect SEOBOK as he is transported to a more secure location after facing mounting pressures both domestically and from abroad. But an assault on their convoy during transit pits Gi-hoon and SEOBOK at immeasurable odds as they fight for their survival against those who wish to steer the course of the future in their favor. Gi-hoon's haunting past and SEOBOK's frightening future become allies in this turning point for mankind. So on paper, I think this film SEOBOK, at least maybe from my synopsis as I just read it to you guys, sounds really cool, I think. If it was pitching this film, that might be something I would be really on board for, especially with the multi-generational talent, the mega stars in the leading roles, Gong Yoo, who everybody knows from Train to Busan. And also we have Park Bo-gum, who I haven't seen a lot of in films, but really rose to superstardom level from some hit drama series that he appeared in, like Reply 1988 and Hello Monster. So I think this movie, you know, just hearing the story, hearing the stars who are going to be in it, we've got a new Korean sci-fi offering. What's going to happen? Of course, a little nervous because it's Korean sci-fi. Unfortunately, I feel like this film SEOBOK suffers from a number of technical, story, and tonal imbalances that really minimize its overall cinematic impact. And that is unfortunate because, like I said, the synopsis just sounds so cool and with the actors and everything. So just to kind of give you guys a rundown of my reaction of this one, I'll start with some of the technical issues that I had with it. And it really comes to production design overall. I don't want to say it's a very direct comparison, but the thing that was coming to my mind the most, and I think this is something that if you do watch a lot of movies, you will pick up on, especially now today in like the digital age when we can kind of see everything so clearly that's on set. Sometimes movies just look too much like a movie, if you know what I mean. So the film that came to my mind was Hyupsong, or The Negotiation, that came out a few years back with Son Ye-jin and Hyunbin. So don't get too scared. I know that film wasn't very well received. I personally didn't really care for it, but in the sense that this film feels like a project, like you've got the control room, command center type room, you've got the big board, you've got a bunch of extras on computers. It just feels very generic in that sense, you know, not to degrade television dramas in any sense, but kind of that vibe, if you guys know what I mean, maybe a CSI vibe. But that's just one aspect of it, how it just kind of feels like a production. These special effects in this film did not do a whole lot for me. Very underwhelming, I must say, because the main character, his powers deal with psychokinetic forces. You've got a lot of power blasts and, you know, abilities to move big objects very quickly. It looks like they do it so quickly, like it moves really fast. It has a very digital feeling to it, or almost like a video game that just kind of like, you know, big cement thing falls and crushes somebody, and then they disappear, and then there's no bodies anywhere. SEOBOK's major ability is to make these little rock piles. Like it's not very clear why exactly they designed it that way. The action choreography, or we'd say like a martial arts coordinator, didn't require, I think, a lot of work other than like directing this, because this main character, SEOBOK, he only has to maybe like put up his hand or just kind of stand there, and maybe facial expressions type manipulation. Think Magneto or Professor X type of manipulation. And besides that, you just have like gunfire. So not so great there. One other technical aspect of this film that I feel like dropped the production value overall was this is yet another Korean film that, for whatever reason, sees, you know, involving lower level, like English speaking actors to speak about like science, or to have them be the soldiers or secret security. I think that there's a feeling that gives it some kind of elevated credibility, whether it's international or scientifically speaking. But for me, just seeing that brings the quality down, because just the acting level is not there. It just looks kind of B-ish. You guys will definitely know what I mean. Even a masterpiece like Park Chan-wook's Joint Security Area, the opening scenes when they're speaking English and whatnot, it's not bad. It just kind of, especially when you're going into a Korean film, I really want to see Korean being spoken. I'm not trying to be like Korean elitist or anything by that, but there is a certain level when you're getting like these A-list actors, and all of a sudden you have kind of a B grade, or even when you have the Korean actors speaking in English to communicate with them. it's not so good for me, and it really kind of lowers the overall production value in my mind. So that could be different for a lot of people, but again, this is just my reaction. So moving on, this movie has a lot of tonal issues. This director, like I said, he directed Architecture 101, which I think is a very, very strong drama film. But this movie, as a sci-fi piece and has some action in it, there is a lot of melodramatic beats in this film. There's a lot of crying, there's a lot of dialogue talking about emotion, but it's nothing very deep. And trying to balance that with some of, I would say, kind of B-level action, it was just not working for me on a tonal level. So there's a lot of philosophical musings in this film. And it has to do with this character SEOBOK and his perceived immortality that he has. He has some issues that you guys will see when you see this film. So he can be injured, and his death is not like 100% avoidable. So he is vulnerable in a lot of different ways. Is kind of a man-child. He is somewhat like a cross between Seven from Stranger Things and if you guys have seen the Korean film A Werewolf Boy. So he doesn't have a lot of real world experience and social interaction with people. He doesn't know how to use chopsticks. He's never been outside. He asks a lot of why questions. There are some typical ideas that get floated around about like what immortality means for the soul, what the implications are for death. At one point, SEOBOK, whom has never experienced sleep himself, as this clone, one of his things is he never needs to sleep. So he asks Gi-hun if falling asleep is kind of like death, and it's nothing mind-blowing that you want in a sci-fi film. Like I want to push the limits of my understanding and my ideas kind of to a precipice where I don't know what comes after that. So films like Ex Machina, I think, do that really well. So when they're over, you're just thinking like, what if, and what does it mean? For this one, you're just like, yeah, I kind of get it. There is a 40-minute stretch or so of this film that does come after some lackluster action scenes and car chases that sees both Gi-hun and SEOBOK take turns shedding a lot of tears as they reveal their fears, their regrets. Gi-hun specifically focuses on, or I would say he dwells more on his past, while SEOBOK questions his future. So there's an interesting duality there where they're supposed to find some understanding in each other, and that's kind of to make some kind of, I would say, story or character development where you could say, all right, these guys are a team now, or they do care about each other. It didn't really come across too well for me. There is one scene in this one when SEOBOK gets to try ramen for the first time, like instant ramen noodles. So he doesn't know how to use chopsticks, and there's kind of this weird funny moment that he's eating like bowl after bowl after bowl. They actually have a moment of friendly dialogue back and forth that goes beyond driving the story. They're actually just two guys curious about each other at that moment, and there was some real character building, and I thought that was like the best scene, the best moment of the movie, where I was like, okay, I'm getting into this movie now, and then kind of reverted back to the expository, pushing the story, generic type characters. As far as the acting goes, I feel like there was some overacting in this one. I feel like Gong Yoo specifically was outperforming this film. The film was not like good enough for the performance that he was giving. Like he was giving kind of a very powerful, deep, introspective performance. But the whole movie, like I said, had a production quality that like The Negotiation had. So as kind of a very commercial light popcorn movie, that performance did not feel to match for me. And Park Bo-gum as the clone in this one, as that, like I said, man-child, he has a lot of expressionless moments. He is kind of always in thought. You don't really get a lot there, and when it comes to the action part, a lot of the special effects did the work for him. So that was kind of maybe a missed opportunity for me. I personally thought there would be a little bit more like hand-to-hand type combat in this one, but maybe that's just my expectations going into this one, which I'm not supposed to have. I understand. This film just doesn't challenge you in any way, and with the melodrama kind of failing and the action being lackluster. Overall, I felt like SEOBOK was more of a disappointment than anything. I do think it will do well, at least commercially, but as having some staying power and making a big impact on the cinematic landscape in Korea, I don't think so. I'm gonna rate this one a 4.5 out of 10, and it's, I gotta be honest, I was disappointed with it. So I think this is probably my favorite takeaway from this one, the art card. This was a CJ E&M production, so it could be a likely candidate for the CJ E&M limited edition digipack Blu-ray collection. So for those of you guys, maybe hoping for a chance to see this in good quality, you don't want to go through some weird channel to see it, maybe that, or maybe Netflix will pick it up. You never know. But those are just my thoughts on this one. I'm sorry to disappoint and maybe give some bad news on this one. Maybe someone else out there has a different opinion on it. I would be very, very interested to hear it in the comments below. So thanks everybody for tuning in on this one. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to coming up in the future, or anything at all, questions, comments, concerns in the comments. So until next time, I'm Tyler at The Movie Beat. Keep watching movies.